the experiment which you showed.
Right.
Yeah, so that was something very great. And
So what was like if you can say, what was your takeaway from that experiment? Do you remember anything from there? Like, what was your takeaway from there?
I think the takeaway which
we
was like, at least I could introspect myself and check where I am standing right now and where I have to reach. We all have to reach. So that was I think the major takeaway from that session, from that experiment.
Yeah.
Okay. I think Aarti auntie was trying to say something again.
The takeaway from that was that as long as we have a lot of desires, so they're very closely interwoven, and our mind is very dense. And as we remove one thread, which is removing desires, then more of our inner light begins to come through. As the cloth is not that dense, it gets woven lighter. The threads are more far apart. So our soul is able to shine through. And in the last, the cloth was very thin and it had become white. Initially, the cloth was like blackish and it was totally covering our soul because, we had encased ourselves and हमने अपने दिमाग को जकड़ लिया था desires में, attachments में. So in the end, everything had kind of reduced. We had kind of reduced our desires and our attachments. So the cloth was very thin and white, and our inner light, our soul, just shone through.
Yes. So about the density of thoughts also, I believe.
Yeah. The color and the density of the thought. The lesser the desires, the lesser the thoughts, and the mind itself becomes free and a reflection of our soul.
Yeah, I think got dropped off in between for a minute or so, but fine. I think since most of us remember the important points, I don't know if anybody mentioned about the thinking mind and the working mind. That also we discussed last time.
Yes.
Okay, so as a person achieves the level of the last level, the last stage, where you specifically have the lot of big holes in the cloth, that means the gap between the thoughts are quite sizable. Okay, the one thought at a time comes and flows. There are no chain of density of thoughts. So that stage is the one when a person has actually reached very, 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 very close to just a level below achieving the unity with the divinity. So in that stage, obviously the mind has become a working mind, which is focused when any task comes in front of you. You actually work on that task. Your mind is only dedicated to that, and then you withdraw once the work is over. Whereas a thinking mind is one which has past and future thoughts flowing continuously, and based on that, it takes a decision. Okay, the decision is based on the intellect, the buddhi which comes in, and then finally the decision is owned by the mind itself, saying that this is my decision. That is where the doership or the ego comes, which is a thinking mind. Whereas a working mind is purely in the present. There are practically no past and future thoughts, and that is where the density of thoughts are very, very limited, or rather hardly anything. Whatever thoughts are there, they are right in the present, only for the activity which is in front of him. And once the activity is over, obviously the mind withdraws. And in that stage, there is no sense of doership. There is no sense of ego which is built by past and the future thoughts. In the layer, the wheel that we saw, the cloth that we saw, which is basically made up of past and future thoughts, which creates a sense of otherness, sense of separateness, sense of ego, that mine and thine that we call. So that actually is completely subsumed into the real self, which is the bulb or the soul or the conscience that is there. So that thinking and working mind is very, very important for us to, demarcate between the two. So that was an important point that we discussed, which is coming towards the end. What I will do is there are few things which we'll quickly discuss and close on the meditation and the inter-revolution piece. And after that, we will hand it over to, I think Mudira Aunty has probably joined, if I'm right. So I'll just share my screen, just few slides to, uh, okay, host has disabled participant screen sharing. If you can enable it, I can show. Ashutosh, if you can. Yes, thank you.
I'm trying. Did it work now?
Yeah, I got, yes. Just let me know if you are able to see the screen.
Not. Yep. Now we
Yeah.
can.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
See the full screen, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So just to concretize the entire concept that we discussed about the pinwheel, which is the periphery and the center. All of us have seen this kind of pinwheel when we were kids. Circus mein ya mele mein jate the, we used to get this based on the wind. It used to go round and round, and we used to be very happy seeing it. So it has a big lesson that when we are on the periphery, the living on the periphery, basically, it leads to uncertainty, stress, and attachment to the world. Right now, all that we face, the fear of death, fear of coronavirus, fear of losing people, fear of old age, fear of uncertainty, and all the kinds of stress is when we are living on the periphery. Okay, so that is where there's a lot of movement, that because of the movement there is uncertainty, there is wobbliness, there is volatility, which causes stress, and it is basically born out of attachment to the world, because we are on the periphery itself signifies we're away from the center, which is on the center is basically God or conscience or divinity or the truth, ultimate truth, whichever way which we can define. So whereas the farther away we are, obviously we are more towards the world, external world, and lesser in the inner world. That is where living on the periphery is. But when we take up this spiritual path, we are trying to all the time move towards the center. And that's why you can see the dotted lines. We are moving all the time, direction is going towards the center. And basically moving towards center brings stability, because if you see the nail which is there, or the key jiske aaspaas jo ghumta hai, it is very stable. Okay, so moment you're moving towards center, it brings stability, it brings calmness, because uncertainty is reduced. Ability to deal with stress. If at all there is any stress, it will be more like a witnessing the stress, but not getting impacted by it. And basically, we arrive at something called peace, because there is tremendous stability at the center. So entire spiritual journey, or all the efforts that we do in our life, is basically moving from periphery to the center. This path is what we need to kind of look at. In a simple terms, living on the periphery is living in the attached world with desires, attachment, attachment to, we also discussed about 4 principles, 4 noble truths of Buddha, which is said about attachment is the root cause of suffering. And that is because we are living in the periphery. So once we start moving towards the center, obviously we bring stability, we are more closer to the divinity, and then slowly the attachment withers away regarding the world. So that's the entire game, you can say, the game of life, as Swami says, life is a game played. The game of life is moving from periphery to the center. Okay, so this is something which I just thought I will add, and kind of it cements our understanding. I added this one slide which we didn't discuss last time, but it is just reconfirming the earlier point, that which we always know, that our life is a boat of life. Is sansar ko hum log now karke, the body is like a now, and then we cross over to the ocean of samsara. So boat of life needs to be anchored to the center of God. Otherwise, if you leave the boat free into the ocean, which is like a periphery in that pinwheel that we saw, then it will always be shaky all the time. It will sway with the flow of the wind which is there, or the breeze that will come, and plus the waves below. But if it is anchored somewhere, there is stability. So this is another example of looking at the same pinwheel, that anchoring to the God, anchoring in something which is stable, is very critical. And this brings one more important point we discussed last time, is introspection. Before we even get into the meditation or a seva or anything in the world, important is introspection. And introspection not about good, bad, ugly. Introspection is more about what is permanent, what is temporary, because that will help us to anchor ourselves. Right now we are moving in the flow of life. In that flow of life, we are not able to differentiate permanent and temporary. Though technically or intellectually we know that life is temporary, but most of us practically, if you ask ourselves, we don't believe. When we say everything is temporary, the difference is we don't believe that. Moment we start believing, with full faith, then our life will tremendously change. So that conviction on that statement of everything is temporary comes through introspection between what is permanent, what is temporary, and leave the temporary and attach to the permanent, and which is where the anchoring is important for us. Okay, this is another example that we saw, we discussed also. I will not go deep into this, but just one point to mention here is in the center is peace. All the time, definitely, all of us are human beings. It's a human tendency to expect joy, happiness, and whatever goodness in life. So, moment you try to push towards God, joy, there's quite natural that pendulum it is. Moment we push towards joy, we may get a joy, and eventually it will go because of the entire gravity and because of the pull on the other side, it will float towards sorrow. So the entire dualistic style of creation that we there, the Dvaita that we see in the world is completely at play here. So moment we expect a joy, sorrow will follow along with it to balance the entire sequence of events. So Buddha says, and also Swami says in the same light, that don't expect joy or sorrow, just stay in between. So you ensure that your pendulum remains stable, which is again going to the center of the pinwheel or anchoring the boat. Okay, so this is something which we discussed. This is an important aspect. Sorry, are you able to see? Yeah. So this is something that we discussed in detail through the demo, but few points to keep in mind is when we looked at the entire demo of cloth between and then the covering the divine energy inside, the effulgence inside, there are two aspects to it. One is the color of the cloth, and second is the thickness of the cloth. Okay, and color of the cloth, we all of us remember black, gray, white, and eventually there are holes in the cloth, and then the cloth disappears. So color of the cloth can be changed through satsang, that is good company, as Swami says. ABC of life is avoid bad company and always have satsang, good company. And seva, bhajans, that all we do, all of us know this, good inputs through 5 senses. This will help us to change the color of the cloth. Okay, but if we want to start reducing the thickness of the cloth, the density of thoughts, it has to go to the next level, which is through meditation, through intensity of devotion. Intensity of devotion here basically means giving 100% priority to God, and ability to develop that relationship with God, that connectivity with God is extremely important. Not a devotion of a 1 hour bhajan in a week. That is Swami himself says is a part-time devotion. But a full-time devotion is having complete faith, complete dependence on God, developing that relationship with God, which is, and because bhakti and devotion is more on love and in connectivity with God, that intensity has to be very high. Typical examples that we have in our history is Mirabai, Tukaram. There are so many such divine saints, Tulsidas, who had that intensity of devotion, which reduces the thickness of the cloth. Okay, we may not, obviously, I'm not saying that, we are somewhere there, but we can have those role models in our life, which can inspire us to achieve that intensity of devotion, and obviously intensity of seva, which again Swami says unity of thought, word, and deed, seeing God in everything and everybody. So when we offer a Narayan seva, somebody, a food packet or a blanket, or in this climate, when we also sometimes donate umbrella. So whenever we do any seva, it is as if we should see God in that person and do it. So all the 3 levels, the intensity has to be very high for us to reduce the thickness of cloth. Okay, the past and the future, that the density of thoughts that are there, that can be brought down to the minimum through these methods. Okay, intensity of devotion and seva is a topic by itself, which we will take some other time. But this entire sequence of, the entire sequence of sessions that we have is focused more on the meditation. We can look at devotion and seva in maybe the following sessions. But just by having mere satsang, seva, and bhajans as on today how we do, it can help us to change the color of the cloth. But for reducing the thickness, we need to go and add few more things to our life, which will help us to bring down and make the cloth thinner. Okay, but this is the first step. Now question is, how do we start? This is the first step. So all of us are connected today. We are having satsang, we do seva, we have bhajans many times. So good inputs, very important. We discussed this also last time, that this is actually one of the, you can say, prerequisite Swami had mentioned in one of the discourses in the past. That, and we discussed this also in part of the karma sessions that we had over the last 3 sessions, where we looked at the conscious mind. You know, all the inputs through eyes, nose, ears, mouth, not just the food, but everything. All the inputs that we take through 5 senses, it helps us to purify our thoughts, the conscious mind in the parlance of karma, which obviously helps us to develop a very good quality of subconscious mind in the karma philosophy that we saw. Here, the reflection of the same is the quality or the color of the cloth purifies. So that's why this is the starting point. And obviously we get into the meditation piece, which helps us to, reduces the thickness of cloth. That is the next level. Once the foundation is set, we move to the next level. So both are equally important and they have to go in tandem. It's not that we achieve the color of cloth and then after that we will think about thickness. They have to go in parallel so that, and same the example that we saw, the thickness also was reducing as we were progressing from black to gray to white. Okay, so this is very important to be kept in mind. And that's why we look at the meditation. Now here is an important concept which Swami has said. Okay, Swami has very clearly mentioned about 3 types, and this is something which probably only Swami can explain this, because most of us, when we sit for silent sitting, we feel we're doing meditation, and Swami clearly says no. Okay, this rose example is actually directly coming from one of Swami's discourses, where he says it's important to demarcate between concentration, contemplation, and meditation. The meditation is towards the fag end, and meditation happens. We don't have to do meditation. Meditation is a noun, not a verb. But prior to that, when we begin a journey in meditation, we go through a concentration process. Concentration, which Swami defines typically as an example of rose plant. Rose is like a mind, and the leaves and the thorns are basically the attachment to the world. So right now, when we first begin our process of meditation, we are still trying to bring all the senses and thoughts into one place. जो हम लोग हिंदी में बोलते हैं एकाग्रता or one pointedness. So that helps us to concentrate right this moment. Okay, when we sit and do meditation or sit for meditation, actually we don't do meditation, we sit for meditation. That time concentration is the first process that we go through. Okay, and that's why concentration is, Swami defines as below the senses. Contemplation is above the senses. Okay, so concentration, as we understood, bringing all the 5 senses into one place and trying to focus on the mind. That's what the mind, the attachments and the desires which are there through leaves and thorns. So that focus coming into our life is concentration. Once we have achieved that, we move to the next stage of contemplation. And in contemplation stage, which you can see on the picture, there is the flower has been segregated from the leaves and thorns. So basically, flower here is mind. The rose flower is now contemplating on God, and that's why slowly and steadily it is getting separated, or slow detachment has begin to happen connected to the world. So that's why the rose, the leaves, the thorns are slowly getting withered away. And that is the stage of contemplation. The slowly movement towards God has happened. The mind is now soaking into divinity. It is contemplating on God. And that's why attachment to the world is slowly going away. Third step is meditation, which happens to us when the entire mind, that is a rose flower here, starts merging into divinity. It becomes one with divinity. And Swami clearly says in that discourse that in meditation only God exists. The so-called mind is completely subsumed into the divine energy or the soul or God. And only God exists when the meditation happens. So all of us go through this process. We begin with concentration. Concentration is not easy, because when we first time sit, we even do a silent sitting, we'll have tons of thoughts from all over the place. So coming down from there to one pointedness, that entire effort requires concentration. And dhire dhire wahan se then obviously you go into contemplation and meditation. The clear demarcation which Swami has explained in this parlance about meditation. Okay, so this is an example which Swami has very beautifully provided, which gives us very clear picture that how slowly and steadily we move towards. While this is a process, we obviously start getting beautiful experiences also in the stage of concentration. in case of contemplation and eventually meditation, which keeps us motivated on this path. It may look difficult, but when we actually take the first step, as Swami says, I'll take 100 towards you. You know, Swami really blesses us with tremendous experiences as we take this path. And eventually meditation is one when it happens to us and the mind eventually merges into the divine self. So that's a clear difference. Okay. Any questions here? I'm not able to see anybody still on the screen. Any questions? Is it clear?
I think it's difficult to see people because of the screen share, but I don't see anybody having a question here. So
All clear or it is difficult?
Mr. Auntie saying she's fine, I think.
Okay. So, okay, moving on. If everything is clear, we'll move on to the next path. This is the advantages, the benefits, you know, besides the spiritual benefits that we saw, the practical benefits for us when we start reducing the thickness of the cloth that we saw, which is basically start living in the present, you know, the meditation, the second part which we saw, not the color. Color is given. From color, we are moving parallelly to reducing the thickness. So these are simple ones which we are visible in our lives. There could be many more benefits, but some of them are like removal of fear and anxiety, obviously leading to better health, which we saw in that the pin wheel also. We are moving towards the center as the thoughts reduce and we are moving towards the living in the present. So removal of fear and anxiety, which is currently very, very important because we are living in a times when there are challenges around us. Second is improved concentration, especially for students, youngsters, or practically any activity we take. Even when we are in offices, if we need to have good concentration, even in cooking, we want to have a good concentration. Naturally, once we start living in the present, ability to improve concentration is very, very high. Better decision making due to uncluttered mind, extremely critical for all the elders who are in decision making roles. Because many times pros, cons, we take a lot of opinion from people and there's all kind of chaos in the mind. But because of very calm mind, focused mind, and mainly living in the present, the clutteredness goes away. It definitely helps us to take a better decision making. Increasing mental peace, because as we are approaching the center, which is very obvious, ability to respond to situations rather than react to situations. I think we saw this also during the session on the karmas that we have. Remember this chart? I think all of us hopefully remember this chart. We discussed about this. So our increased awareness levels definitely helps us to have more response to the life situation than react to it. Reaction is more impulsive, where the awareness levels are much lower because we are all the time getting swayed, just like the boat in the ocean. And you know, we just go on reacting to life situation, and eventually we repent, why did I do that? And it actually adds to the instability of life. Whereas more and more meditation we do, more and more calmness we achieve, lesser the thickness of the cloth, the awareness levels increase. You can see the concentric circle going higher and higher, and obviously our ability to respond increases. So this is the other benefit which we see from having meditation. And obviously better receptivity of divine energy and divine grace. This is extremely important because in fact a lot of talk every time we have that, you know, what is the criteria for achieving divine grace. In fact, Swami says very clearly that divine grace is flowing on everybody. The only difference is whether we are able to recognize it. So, and recognition of divine grace comes through coincidences, or in our language sometimes we call it as coincidences. But coincidences happen in a normal way, very, you know, very natural and casual way, and we don't recognize it because we call it luck or, you know, by chance ki ho gaya. But when you go deeper into it, when your mind is much more calmer, you're living in the present, you actually start, you know, your ability to connect to the dots and understand the sequence of coincidences is very high. And that's why the divine grace is on all of us. But through meditation, when we are start living in the present, when we are moving towards the center, the recognition of the divine grace flowing on us substantially goes up. And obviously through that, there are additional benefits of attitude of gratitude, joy, happiness, counting your blessings, etc., etc. continues. But imagine the multiplicity of the benefits that we have by getting into the center and through reducing thickness and living in the present. Okay, this is another chart. This is thanks to Ushanti, who shared offline with me about the advantage before and after meditation. You know, the pictorial representation. You just look at the left side, the brain before and after 10 minutes of meditation. You can see there is a blue signifies peace and calmness, and there is a lot of chaos on the left side before the meditation. So uncluttered mind, as we say, your decision-making ability is far better because of calmness of the mind post-meditation. If you do 10 minutes of meditation, if you have half an hour, 45 minutes, 1 hour, and on a consistent basis, you can imagine your brain is far more productive, more focused, far better decision-making as compared to an uncluttered mind, which is not kind of regular in meditation. And obviously on the aura piece, you know, this is an aura on the left side before meditation, and you can see the thickness of the aura. And we discussed again way back, I think 3-4 months back, that when we discussed about Manomaya Kosha, the aura is the representation of Manomaya Kosha in the external side of the body. And because of purity of mind, purity of thoughts, purity of the color of that we saw the cloth, and the reduction in thickness, obviously the energy levels are very high. And because energy levels are very high, our aura is much bigger. I think last session, Bindu also mentioned about that brilliant photography where the aura of, you know, divine love, divine energy, the pink and the blue aura that we discussed substantially increases in size. And not just that, but important advantage is because the aura is so pure and divine and much more wider. You know, normal it is said 1.5 to 2 inch or maybe sometimes 3 inch of our body, border of the body, physical body is where the aura is, an average person's. But with more and more meditation, obviously the aura size moves up 6, 7, 10 inches, 15 inches, depends upon what kind of energy we are radiating from within. And that actually helps us to even act as a shield against all kinds of illnesses, viruses, and all kinds of negativities that are there. So that's why, you know, it does help us to practically, physically protect us from the problems that we today face about viruses and, you know, negativity that is around. So that's why there are multiple benefits. These are some pictorial idea about how it can really, really help us to go beyond. Means we spoke about spiritual energy, but here spiritual energy is coming to a rescue in today's chaotic world also. There are some other benefits, you know, I can share this slide offline. We can go through and, you know, we can kind of just add to our understanding. Self-awareness increases, digestion improves, blood pressure lowers, anxiety, depression melts away, hormones, you know, normalize, calm and clear thinking, good sleep, sense of well-being, releases feel-good endorphins, good hormone levels increase, less addiction, muscles relax, release toxins, okay, heart rate slows, intuition is awakened, positive thinking, improved focus, mind chatter slows down, which is a direct connection to the past and the future thoughts, you know, the thickness of the cloth that we discussed. So a lot of advantages post meditation that we can see. One interesting point, you know, gaining samyak drishti, we just touched upon it in last session. We will end with this and then I'll hand it over to Auntie. Is gaining samyak drishti, we saw different you know, levels of cloth. Now cloth also, how it impacts our life. You know, when we see the world, I'm just connecting this entire concept of samyak drishti, the lens idea that we discussed 3, 4 or 6 months ago. The lens that we have in the mind, if some of you can recollect that session, different lens color obviously gives us the different vision of the world. And through the color of the cloth, basically the color of lens and color of cloth is same. Okay, we saw the entire concept in a different light. But the purer the cloth in front of us, the purer the vision of the world. And typically what Swami says, no, everything is reflection, reaction, resound of our inner self. So our inner self, which is more and more pure because of the cloth becoming purer, our ability to see the world in a real light, in a pure form is much higher. So, you know, typical example, if you can see this is a black cloth. Suppose I'm just trying to correlate. If you have a black mind, the kala man bolte hai, this is how the world will look like. As we purify ourselves, it becomes a little lighter. It becomes even more lighter, becomes even more lighter, becomes even more lighter. You can see the shade which is coming lighter and lighter. And finally, we achieve Samyak Drishti, which is unadulterated vision, which is as it is, the world in as it is, without any of our colors, of our perceptions, prejudices, negativity, our past impressions. अगर वो सब निकाल देते हम लोग and see the world as it is in an objective way, which is basically Samyak Drishti, which is same as a cloth with lot of holes in it. So a pure white lens, a cloth which is having holes in it, and seeing the world objectively as it is without color of our opinion, prejudices and perceptions is basically Samyak Drishti. So these are the other benefits in the world. When we start seeing the world, automatically the improvisation of a vision happens, the purity of vision also happens. As inner purity increases, the vision also becomes more and more pure. So this is the concept of Samyak Drishti, which is an added benefit to the entire purification process that we saw. And some of the types of meditation, Jyoti meditation is what Munira aunty will take us through. And this is Swami, which propounded a lot about Jyoti meditation. And watching the thoughts in the mind, typical example is when a small child is playing, we will see when a child is playing, when we start focusing on the child becomes conscious and stops playing. And all of us have seen the child is basically 2-3 years old, 4 years old kind of. So mind is like a small child. When we start watching the thoughts in our meditation, it slows down automatically. Same way how the small child is. Focus on breathing, which is Soham. All of us know Soham. So is inhalation and Hum is exhalation, which is I am that, I am that. In the Soham is the Sanskrit word, and obviously the English translation is I am that. Soham, I am that, which Buddha actually practiced this, focus on breathing. Through that, he achieved the liberation. Then who am I? Conscious investigation of I am not this, I am not the body, I am not the mind, and who am I? So that is Raman Maharshi actually focused on this. Then focus on I am, beingness and not becoming. Means I am what my pure state is. I am not Siddhartha, or I am not a son, I am not a husband, I am not a child, I am not an employee, I am not a Sevadal member, whichever way. Not becoming, but being my real self. That is Tattvamasi, which our Shastras also talk about. Nisargadatta Maharaj is one of the very famous saints in Maharashtra who actually practiced this and propounded this philosophy. And onion peel meditation is delayering the process of external gatherings. If all of us, when we were born pure, we were without clothes, we were born as it is. After that, we gained the clothes, we gained our name, we gained our relationship, we gained our education, we gained our friends, we gained our family, eventually we gained our whatever education, job, extended family, spouse, children and grandfather and all that. So all that gathering that we have in around our life, that has to be delayered. And that's why we simply name it onion peel meditation, which is basically you start delayering all the external gatherings that we have achieved over a period of time. So that finally what is left inside is our true self. Okay, this is not an exhaustive list. This is just an illustrative list of few famous meditation techniques. A lot of people practice these. There could be many more which we can discuss offline, but some of the taste of what kind of meditations that we can do. And today, to start with, we'll focus on Jyoti meditation, which Auntie will take us through. And Swami always says the first step to start with is, because the mind is all the time looking at an object, it's important to achieve that concentration before that contemplation and meditation stages come, is to focus on an object. And that's why Jyoti meditation is extremely important, which helps us to bring all the senses on that Jyoti. And then from then, obviously, onwards, we are able to go through the entire meditation flow. So that's about it to complete the entire discussion on meditation and why it is so, how it is important to us, the 3 stages of meditation and eventually types of meditation. Okay, so I'll stop here. Anybody has any questions? Okay, I'm seeing the chat. Okay, great visual. Thank you. Intensity of devotion increases difficulties. Yes. All clear. Okay. Doesn't the wide aura pick up others' negative vibrations? See, always a powerful divine vibrations, overpowers the negative vibrations. Okay. So if your vibrations are very powerful divine, it can overpower. Love can overpower fear. Love can overpower negativity. So the advantage is, in fact, when your aura is so large and so big and so pure, as we spoke last time also, when somebody comes in your contact, there's a transformation that happens. The person actually starts feeling good being with you because your pure aura has touched his aura.
You're also protected.
Yes, you are protected first. And other advantages, because they have come into, similarly, when we come into the aura of any divine being, all of us have experienced being in Swami's presence. Why some people cry when they see? Why some people feel joy? People are sitting in the 10th or 15th row, but then still they feel the powerful vibration because Swami's aura is so big. So when we have experienced this, all the negativity, all the bad things been away from us because of the power of the positive vibrations which the aura is emitting. Okay, so that's, I hope that answers the question. Okay, that's about it. Over to you.
I think auntie had something she wanted to say. Yes,
Sure.
auntie. Auntie, आपकी voice नहीं आ रही.
Yeah, I want to ask, meditation is a way to reduce the thoughts that are coming in the mind. Okay, but most of us are not always in a meditative state other than when we actually sit down for meditation. So in day-to-day life, as you are going through the process of living, whatever work you're doing, how do we reduce our thoughts, or at least move from negative thoughts to a more positive frame of mind?
See, it is, Swami says the same thing is about practice. The way we practiced eating, the way we practiced walking when we were kids. So to achieve the meditative state of mind 24/7, it will take time. So we start with a small thing like silent sitting or Jyoti meditation, which auntie will speak about. Eventually we go through that process. Okay, dhire, mind slows down. It gets trained to slow down like a practice. And after, it's like for any profession you take up. If you are a sportsman, you need practice. If you are a musician, you need practice. Even for cooking, you need practice. For walking, we had practiced. So everything comes by practice. And Swami uses the very famous term, Sanskrit term is abhyasa. You go on doing abhyasa on regular basis, dhire, mind comes down. And then eventually it becomes a second nature. But it's a process. So it takes time. It will not happen overnight. But at least the baby steps when we take, we are in the right direction.
I feel Nam Smaran, it helps a lot.
Nam Smaran definitely helps. The bhajans definitely help. But
So
again,
as we are doing our work, as we are doing the daily routine, we can keep on, chanting inside. So that helps a lot. It reduces the, fears, anxieties, stresses. So I feel that, and I practice.
Very good. So if Namasmarana is also constantly practiced when you're cooking, when you're doing any mechanical activity, it does helps you to move towards that meditative state of mind. Okay, so those are the different ways. So intensity of devotion, how it is, all the divine saints did that. When any activity they did, they were completely in tune with God while practicing it. And all of us have the capacity to become those saints. So
yeah. And another suggestion would be that, like Namsmara auntie was saying, but sometimes you may not remember or something to do it full time, and we'll start doing Namsmara for say 30 seconds and then mind will go somewhere else, somebody will call us. One thing I've seen some people do even at home actually is if you can even play a recording of Sai Ishwarya or something in the background, then when your mind goes, you can always come back to it. That is another thing, because that we can use technology to our benefit there.
No, very true, because what we are doing is it enters the subconscious mind. We're constantly playing the bhajans at home, it slowly and steadily enters the subconscious mind. So purification does takes place. Okay, so a lot of people do that. They put Radio Sai bhajans throughout, and there is some kind of program that keeps happening. Dhire, it helps you to be in tune with God. So, but that's various ways to do, various ways that we can. But the common element across this is all the right inputs should go into us.
Can I say something? Sujata here. Yeah, so what I have noticed is that I constantly have some mantras or the other playing at home. Of course, Baba's bhajans are there. Of course, there are keynote bhajans that I play, those are bhajans which I play when I know I am going to do some big task. That one bhajan, there will always be some one bhajan, that you have a tendency to keep recollecting. If we are able to identify that one bhajan, no, it immediately has a calming effect on us. It has a power to empower us. और क्या होता है when you're facing that situation, probably an important meeting or a presentation, or in my case, some evaluations were going on, that bhajan plays in the background of your mind. Somehow, when people are evaluating, when I was facing Vivas, the answers that you gave are much better than your own expectation of yourself. So I feel that is some way in which Baba is empowering us when we are able to recollect those thoughts, those mantras, those bhajans. If we are able to subconsciously, like you're saying, it's in the antarman. If that is still playing that bhajan when we are doing our task, then it makes the task easier. I don't know whether it's a direct effect or it is not my feeling. Baba has told me, don't call it your feeling. If you can't feel anything unless I make you feel it. But it happens. So that is another way that I have found that the mantras and the bhajans empower us.
I think very nice. But thing is, when you are doing all the time contemplation, which is the second stage, all the time you're contemplating on God, your mind has limitation. When you're answering a Viva, you would have thought something based on your mind's capability. But the inner self, the divine self's capability is unlimited. So what happens is when you're constantly in this process, your mind starts dipping into that ocean of bliss inside. And it does typically that example of pakoda and the newspaper. The newspaper it's covering the pakoda, and eventually the newspaper starts smelling like a pakoda, though it is not. So same is the case, your mind, which is limited, starts getting dipped into the ocean of bliss, which is unlimited, and it assumes those qualities. And that's why your answers that you gave is beyond your expectations. You would have thought something, but actually even more beautiful thing has come out. So that's
so when you come out of something where the Australians thought of giving you a clap, that's not that at that point you understand, ye clap mera nahi hai. This is not belonging to me. I became worthy of this clap because there was something else. So when we contemplate, when we start meditating and start moving towards the center of the pinwheel, it is not just in divinity or not just in spirituality that we are growing. We are also growing in any chosen field of ours, whatever may be the field. Like Baba says, if you think of me when cooking and you offer your food first to me, the food becomes tastier. So whatever it is that we are doing, if we are able to unconsciously imbibe, and the antarman keeps playing some other tune of its own, then the objective and the outcome are more beautiful.
Because you're operating from the level of conscience, and conscience is far bigger entity than all the things in the world.
Sai Ram, yes.
Sure. Fine. So we are 7:30 already.
Yes, just want to do a quick check here. First of all, if Meera Aunty is able to hear us and speak something, and how much time were we thinking of doing the meditation? I know we started about 5-10 minutes late today. So, Meera Aunty, can you hear us? Are you around on the call?
There is one name called Munonira. I don't know. It must be her.
I know. That's what I was not sure. I think because of separate links, Auntie may have found it
But
difficult.
she said she has joined.
She said she is joined.
She is there, yeah.
But that's what I think the only person would be. It could be that Munonira. Maybe she's not able to unmute herself.
If you send that, it comes not send that props or something. I used to send her the direction instruction from the
Okay,
drop menu.
I mean, I've requested her to unmute. Let's see. If that
Yeah, she will do that because that is what she had practiced.
She's unmute now.
Yeah, I told her that she does it.
Yeah. Sai Ram Aunty, Munira Aunty, can you hear us? Can you say something?
Can you hear me, Sai Ram?
Yes.
Sai Ram, Aunty.
Yes, Aunty.
Siddharth, thank you for the lovely talk. And you have opened our minds.
There is a divine being next to me who is doing the entire
Acha. Another thing. Shall I start?
Yes, Aunty.
Acha. See, I would like to tell you, when I was about 3 decades ago, when we were in Parthi, Baba used to call all the foreigners in his room or somewhere, I don't know where it was, and he used to talk to them. After those people used to come out and they used to give a study circle, the same thing what Baba has said, they used to come and tell us. And that's how I came to know what is Jyoti meditation. What is Jyoti meditation? According to you? फिरा दिया ज्योति हो गया, right? No, it's not like that. Baba told them that your own body is responsible for your mind. Mind can't act on its own. When the body, अगर कोई पिंच मारा, फिर बॉडी को लगता है ना, कि बॉडी को पहले से लगता है मेरे को पिंच आएगी, ऐसा है, right? This is something ulta. So Baba said, take care of your body first. Don't go on wrong directions. And that's how he has given us Jyoti meditation. So, have you understood what I said? Saira, can you hear me?
Yes, auntie, go ahead.
Yes, auntie. Yes, auntie. Go ahead.
Acha, acha. So, he started right in front of us. He told us to do Jyoti meditation. How to do Jyoti meditation? As you all know, Jyoti meditation is done with a candle in front. Siddharth, where is the candle and where is the music?
Yeah, it is ready. I'm just projecting it.
अच्छा, पीछे से आना है, हाँ, म्यूजिक बाहर. Shall I start?
Yes.
Yeah,
Let us start. आस्ते, आस्ते. Wrong लगाया. बारीक करो. Let us start with 3 Omkar. Shall we say together? Om.
yes, auntie.
Yes, sir.
चलो बोलो. Om. सामने ज्योति है आपके, आपको सबको दिखाई देती है ये ज्योति?
Yes.
Yes, auntie.
Yes, auntie.
Only a few of us are saying. Where are the boys?
Yes, auntie. Yes, auntie, we can see.
Everybody can see, I think.
Yes, auntie, we can see.
Okay. Baba says, ये ज्योति को, what is ज्योति? Fire, right?
Yes.
ये फायर जला भी दे सकती है और ये फायर तुमको लाइट भी दे सकती है, दोनों काम करती है कि नहीं? अभी फायर लग गया तो क्या होता है, सब जल जाएगी. हाँ, so the fire does 2 work. One is quietening you and the other is finishing you off. So now this Jyoti We will take all around ourselves. Sit quietly at one place. Relax yourself. Keep your body relaxed, every part of your body. Fold your legs. Put your two hands, palm into a mudra and put it on your lap. Slowly open your eyes and see the Jyoti. ये ज्योति आंखों में आ चुकी है। ये अब ज्योति अब सब अच्छा ही देखेगी, बुरा देखेगी। ये आंखें बुरा देखेगी नहीं। सो ये आंखें ज्योति की तरफ रख के अब आहिस्ते से बंद कर, थोड़ी खुली रखो। आहिस्ते से ये ज्योति को अंदर उतारो, अपने दो भवों के बीच में रखो, आईब्रोज के बीच में, और थोड़ी देर शांत बैठो। अब ये ज्योति को आहिस्ते से अपने गले की तरफ ले आओ। जबान की तरफ फिराओ। जबान हमेशा मीठा बोलेगी, प्यार से बात करेगी। आहिस्ते से अपने कानों की तरफ, पहले सीधे कान फिर उल्टे कान। ये कान हमेशा अच्छा ही सुनेंगे, अच्छी बात है। आहिस्ते से ये कान से निकल के ज्योति आहिस्ते से ट्रैवल कर रही है, अपने कंधे की तरफ ले जाओ, सीधे हाथ की तरफ ले जाओ, और अपने हथेली में ये ज्योति उल्टे कंधे पे ले जाओ और उल्टे हाथों पे रखो। ये हाथ हमेशा अच्छा ही काम करे, बाबा की सेवा करेंगे। आहिस्ते से ये ज्योति को अब धीरे से अपने अंदर उतारो, अपने हृदय में ले चलो। सांस चलती है उसके तरफ लेके चलो। सांस ऊपर जाती है, नीचे आती है। जब ऊपर जाती है तो हम नीचे जाते, सो हम, सो हम। I am that. I have to behave like that. अब आहिस्ते से ये अपने हृदय की तरफ निकला। ये हृदय में कमल का फूल है। ये कमल का फूल पानी में तैरता है, हालांकि पानी में है, कचरे में उगता है, लेकिन अंदर अपना ये लेता नहीं है। तो हम भी इस कमल के हृदय के अंदर जो बसा फूल है उसकी तरह रहे ऊपर। गलती सब गलत जो भी है उसको निकाल देते। अब आहिस्ते से ये ज्योति अपने हृदय से नीचे उतार, पहले सीधे पैर पे, फिर उल्टे पैर की तरफ, ये पैर हमेशा सही रास्ते पे चलेगा, गलत रास्ते से दूर रहेंगे। साई के बताए हुए रास्ते से आहिस्ते से इस ज्योति को अपने पीछे लेके जाए, पीठ के पीछे, और फिर आहिस्ते से नीचे उतार कर सामने ले जाए। अब हम ज्योति से दूर चले गए हैं। अब ये ज्योति आहिस्ता 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 ये ज्योति अलग रास्ते पे जाएगी, सही रास्ते पे ले जाएगी। हमारे अब ये ज्योति को हमारे फैमिली की तरफ फिराए, माँ बाप भाई बहन सबकी तरफ ले जाए। अब ज्योति हर फैमिली की तरफ फैल चुकी है। अब धीरे से ये ज्योति हॉस्पिटल की तरफ जाएगी, जहाँ बीमार बहुत सारे पड़े हैं। बाबा से प्रार्थना करें, ओ भगवान इन बीमारों को अच्छा कर दे। अब ज्योति फैल चुकी है, ये ज्योति छोटी छोटी रोशनी बन के हर चीज में नजर आती है। मैं ज्योति हूँ, मुझ में है, मैं ज्योति हूँ, मैं एक हूँ, और वो एक हर जगह जाए, हर जगह छोटी 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 रोशनी दिखाई दी। ये रोशनी फैल गई है करके, ये पत्तों में, पेड़ में, चांद में, सितारों में, आंखें आसमान पे फैल चुकी है। अब हम ज्योति में हमेशा कायम रहेंगे करके आहिस्ता से भी ज्योति ही ज्योति नजर आई। ज्योति ही ज्योति है और कुछ नहीं है। तू नजर आया, तू ही तू है, सभी जगह तू ही तू है। मैं रहा नहीं, तू ही। अब आहिस्ते से योगी को अपने अंग में उतार के खामोशी से बैठे, चुपचाप धीरे से आंखें खोले, और ये आंखों में सबके प्यार बैठे, और ये हाथ अपने मसले और अपने मुंह पे लगाए थे। साई राम कहते, ओम श्री साई राम कहते, साई राम
साई
साई राम। अब ये घर में करना, खाली यहाँ करने से कुछ फायदा नहीं है, क्योंकि हमको आदत नहीं है हमारी बॉडी को स्थिर रखने की। हम किधर भी जाते हैं सोचते तो बिकॉज ऑफ द बॉडी वी आर थिंकिंग। अगर बॉडी नहीं होती तो माइंड अपने आप तो नहीं सोच सकता था करके। जहाँ बॉडी जाएगी उधर वो माइंड चलता है करके। आपको एक चिमटी किसी ने मारा तो ये 5 सेंसेस पे बॉडी माइंड डिपेंड होता है। तो हमारे 5 सेंसेस को काबू में रखने के लिए बाबा कहते हैं ये ज्योति मेडिटेशन इम्पोर्टेंट है। साई राम कहते हैं। It's become very late, 7:47 हो गया।
Auntie, thank you. Very nice.
Beautiful, auntie. Very
Thank
nice.
you.
Yeah, it was very calming.
Very soothing. Very soothing.
We'll close with Samastaloka then.
हाँ,
Samastaloka
Asadoma Sadgamaya
Sukhino bhavantu Mastaloka Sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Thank you, everyone. Sai Ram.
Sai Ram, Aunty.
Sai Ram.
Sai Ram, Sai Ram.
Sai Ram.
Siddharth, Auntie, both are too good.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't feel like opening eyes, you know. It was
I love the
very
idea of
calming.
sending the Jyoti to the hospitals. It was wonderful. Sending it to the hospitals.
Correct. True, Didi.
So that's it.
I think Pratibha aunty left, I guess.
Yeah, I think it went.
We started late, I think. That's why it got stretched because initially not.
That's why I think Munira auntie Bichari, she was also rushing a little, but it was very nice, soothing. But auntie very nicely. I don't want to speak much because even we shouldn't speak a lot after meditation. But I think it was nice. Probably next weekend when we are planning. I think basically Siddharth, I think next session your mom is going to take a meditation session, right? So that's the plan. But I think we can briefly connect next weekend and then finalize. But if there's nothing urgent, I'll sign off as well. Try and stay in that state of mind.
Only one thing, since we are online, after the third session, we were to end the entire sequence of sessions on this topic. I just felt maybe we'll have fourth session to summarize everything that we have discussed in 3 sessions and keep it open for any Q&A. So all questions, everything is then fourth session will be the last session as a conclusion.
And we can also do another 15-minute meditation there also. I mean, it's going to be good anyway. And we can always end with in fact, if people like it, we can do every session last 10 minutes meditation.
That is a natural choice for it.
Yeah.
No. You're more.
No,
but very nicely done, Auntie. It was very soothing. And I think the kind of music also really worked very well. It just calmed down.
Yeah. Very nice. Everything was very nice.
Okay.
All right, then I'll talk to all of you later. But Sai Ram, Siddharth, thanks again. Sai Ram,
Sai
thank you
Ram,
so much.
Sai Ram.
Sai Ram. Have a good Sunday.
You too. Have a good week. Good night.